Villa podcast. Up the Villa.
So I mean, we'll get to our brilliant days, but I mean, you need to hang on. You do your back to the beginning, where did it all
Proper
start?
back
I'm
to
going
the
to say
beginning.
Lancashire, not Lancashire, Cheshire.
Where you were born.
No, I was. Oh God, we're going that far back.
Yeah, we're going all the way back. This is proper day in
58,
your
I
life.
can't remember that. I'm from Oldham originally. I don't say that, quite loudly at times anymore. But
I mean, I'll see it. I don't know. I thought it was Crewe.
no. I moved.
Because you obviously.
I was an Oldham boy who played for. I'd probably ruin about 4 of your questions here because I'll just go on this monologue. But I played for the local amateur side, Chadden.
What age were you for that?
I'd left school, so I was 16, 17. Played for.
But you were playing in school though, were you?
Yeah, I was playing in school,
but
yeah,
was
and
it-
playing Sunday League football and things like that. And then
But it was just that level. It was
it was nothing special. I remember going and seeing the careers officer at school. What do you want to be? I want to be a footballer. Yeah, I'll forget that one. Get on your studies and things. But she said, what you need to do is you need to write and get a trial. Write to these clubs and get a trial. And I remember going to Wigan, and no disrespect to the clubs or anything like that, but I can remember going to Wigan and having a trial at Wigan. And in my mind, it probably wasn't like this, but in my mind, it was like 20 aside on this pitch. They just had everybody there. And which, all right, fair enough, they're having a look at everybody. I thought that I came back and they said, right, okay, everybody come back next week. But everybody come back next week. And it was like, well, so we go back to 20 aside. You've not even called anybody and things, So I never went back there. Wrote to Bury and they didn't offer me a trial. Went to college. I wasn't. I mean, now I think I'd have been with having my son. Now I'd have said to him, if he wasn't clever enough to do something, I'd tell him he wasn't clever enough. But I decided I wanted to be a physiotherapist, and I was nowhere near clever enough to be a physiotherapist. And my mum and dad should have told me I was nowhere near clever enough to be a physiotherapist. And I didn't get the grades at school to go on to study to be a physiotherapist. So I actually went to college for a year. I left school at 16, went to college for a year to retake some subjects to get the grades to be a physiotherapist.
So then go for physio. Wow.
And I was doing maths, which I loved. I enjoyed maths. I was doing maths. I was doing maths at a higher level. I'd got the O level at that thing. I was doing chemistry, which I needed, and can't even remember what the other subject. You had to take 3 subjects then. You had to do them, and I hated chemistry. And the difference between school and college was you didn't have to really go into college. So I would eventually start. I'm not going into chemistry. And I never went into chemistry for about 6 weeks, and then thought, can't really go to maths because the chemistry teacher might see me walking around the place. So I literally stopped going to college. But my mum and dad were divorced. My mother didn't know that I hadn't gone to college and things.
Where did you say you were?
She thought I was going to college.
Yeah.
Where I was sat in lab books.
See, that's why
it was warm at lab books.
That's why you and I were good at maths, because I could tell you exactly what 10 quid at 64 was, and anything at 25.
That's it.
And I could do you a double and treble in a heartbeat. So that's the only thing you were good. You and I were good at football.
Well, my
you and I
dad
were good at maths.
My dad bought me a computer once. When I was at school, he bought a computer, and I wrote a program myself. I mean, not code or anything like that, but it worked out the winnings from a Yankee bet. She won't know about Yankee.
Oh, I do. Trust me.
Right, okay. But anyhow, basically, I played for the local amateur side, Chadderton, and they organised a pre-season friendly against Man United youth team. We played against Man United youth team, and I got invited down on a Monday and a Thursday night to Man United, just to play with their School of Excellence type thing. And towards the end of that season, I went down Monday, Thursday night, and towards the end of that season, got into the Lancashire League side. Played about 3-4 games, and then I was 17 at this point, so you'd miss that intake of 16-year-old kids going in onto apprenticeships. I know it's different now, but that's what it was then, 16. Excuse me, when you signed. But Margaret Thatcher was in power, and she brought out the youth training scheme. And the clubs jumped on the youth training scheme because the government paid £25 a week.
I was going to say 35 quid.
25 quid a week it was, yeah, and they paid it, and United could have 4 players. So they offered 3 fringe players that they didn't take as an apprenticeship on a year's YTS, youth training scheme, and I got one at 17 and went in and did that, and then 8 months later signed pro.
So how was that time when you then signed on to United at that age? I mean, Was that a surprise for you at that point? So you got scouted during that game that you were playing against them?
Yeah, they chose me. They chose 3 or 4 of us from the Chadderton team to just go down on a Monday and a Thursday night. That was all. I mean, there was loads of players there from all over the place.
And how did you then at that point start to think, okay, my previous dream that was dashed by my careers advisor could actually become reality now? Or did you kind of still just think, I'm just going through the motions with this?
I can't remember properly whether... I don't think you have dreams like that. You know, in a sense of I'm going to go on and I'm going to be this. I don't think... You can never have them. I certainly didn't have them. And they are dreams, but I was always realistic with myself. And it was a case of, okay, I'm at Man United, but there's a huge gulf here between me, not the players I was with, but between me and the reserve team. If I went training with the reserves, I knew there was a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I will go on to it. Obviously, when I came here, it's a similar situation when I came here from Crewe Alexandra, but there's a big gulf in quality and strength and physical power and things like that, you know. So you don't really have that dream. You're just going into it on a day-to-day basis, not going through the motions, but thinking, okay, can I make a career? Can I make a career? But I don't think I ever thought I was going to make a career at Man United. And I was playing up front at that time, by the way. I wasn't quick enough. I wasn't powerful enough. In youth football, yes, I could play because I had a brain.
Up the Villa.
And he said, right, okay, you can go to Villa for talks. They'd bid the 200,000. I didn't know at the time, but Steve Harrison had left to go to Watford. And Steve Harrison and Graham had obviously spoken about me, and Steve had seen me, and Steve wanted me. The reason Graham paid the 200 grand is because he thought Steve's going to go in for him at Watford. He'll go and buy him, you know. So Dario said to me, you've got to go down this afternoon and speak to Graham at Villa Park. So I said, well, that's great. I can come down, play in the game against West Brom.
2 birds, 1 stone.
And then go on from there. Like, as if Dario's now thinking, I've got 200 grand running around the football pitch. That's not happening. Go home, get changed.
Slippers.
And I wore an earring at the time. I remember wearing an earring, and I'd like, Graham, I've got to take this earring out. And I came down, and I mean, listen, too old now, so you can let these things out. It's not a problem. But I remember Dario saying to me, look, you know, it's 200,000. He said the one thing that you should be looking is 10% as a signing on fee. Don't know about your money, your salary, and everything, but look for 10%. And I came down, no agent at that time at all.
Oh God, just you?
Just me, yeah. And I came down, drove down, all suited and booted, and he showed me around Villa Park and things like that, and did all that. Then we got in, and
Graham did.
Yeah. And then we got in, and he had a contract typed up for me, the offer. Like, you know, they were blue, the contracts at the time were blue, and he had it typed up, and it was there, the money was there, and things like that. And they offered me 16,000 to sign on. And I'm like shaking, thinking, I've got to ask. And I've said, like, oh, look, I've been told it should be 10%. He went, all right, fair enough, we'll give you 20.
What?
How easy was that? Like?
Harry stitched me, I should have asked him more.
I'm thinking, I mean, 4 grand. I haven't seen 4 grand, never.
Oh my God.
So literally, you were playing Liverpool at home in the Cup on the weekend. And I said to him, I said, look, I want to take 48 hours to decide. And I can remember going home, and I'm sat in the living room with Rachel, my then girlfriend, and whatever, she's become my wife, and I'm sat there and I'm looking at this blue piece of paper with like this money this year, this money that year, this money that year, 20,000 sign up. I'm rich, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I wasn't. And I knew then that I was going to sign for Villa, but I think I took 36 hours or something like that, phoned Graham up and said, look, I'd love to join. And he said, right, fair enough. And this was the Friday. He said, look, stay out of the way. He said, we'll get the contracts. And he said, but stay out of the way. He said, we won't release anything. Let me get this game against Liverpool in the 3rd round. He said, but come down and watch the game. He said, but there'll be no fanfare. I don't want any fanfare about it or anything like that. And then on Monday, you can come in. So that's what we did. We came down, watched the game.
And no
back.
one kind of picked up on this?
No. Graham had kept it hush-hush, and everybody had kept it hush-hush. Really,
glasses
and
and
like
moustache
that,
on and a hat.
Well, nobody would have known me anyhow, you know what I mean? So you played Liverpool, 3rd round of the FA Cup, and then I came down on a Monday, and I just remember going into the training ground on the Monday, and I think you must have all been in, or it was on a Tuesday or whatever it was, but you must have all been in the day after the game against Liverpool. And I came in, and I remember going into Bodymore Eve, and when I'm thinking about what I was at 16, 17, about the physicality of players, and how you're looking at them and thinking, like, how can I cope at this level? You know, I'd been this player at Crewe that had developed, that was scoring goals. I was the big fish and this, that and the other. Totally confident when I went onto a football pitch and came into a dressing room and had to get changed between him and Gary Thompson.
Oh,
Two monsters,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And then you'd look around the dressing room and Spinks, who was a big guy. Kevin Gage was broad. Andy Gray was a big lad, you know what I mean?
Evans.
Booner, Mark Lillis and things like that, Alan Evans. And I felt like this little kid, you know what I mean?
Took you right back to, like, say, those first
Yeah,
days.
and you start to... And then the other thing I did was, they put me up in the Midland Hotel in Birmingham, and it was like, I've been driving around Crewe Alexandra and Crewe and Nantwich and things like that. Now I'm on this like spaghetti junction. How do I get into Birmingham? Where do I go? I've got to park the car over there, then I've got to walk into an hotel. And I remember the first night, the Monday night, getting into the hotel room, Monday afternoon on my own, thinking, what am I going to do now? I'm here, I'm on my own, and I've got to wait till training tomorrow, but I don't feel confident of going into training. Have I made a mistake here?
Villa Podcast. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and never miss a story.